Well, hello there everyone. Earlier today I made a video of about 45 minutes where I'm talking about a course that you can do in Scientology called TR as an Objective, and I thought it would be a good idea, inspired by one of my subscribers, to actually cut up this long 45 minutes into smaller videos explaining specific things. So in this part I would like to talk about the TRs, the training routines from 0, the first one, OT TR0, up to TR training routine number 4. I do hope that you will like and enjoy that. Well, particular, what are the TRs actually? And now I didn't find anything online directly from Scientology, from Hubbard itself. However, I did find this from Wikipedia, and I read through it, and from what I can remember, it's actually very, very well written. So I'm pretty sure that there isn't anything wrong with that. Maybe it isn't word for word, but it definitely conveys what the TRs are. So let's have a look at that. So first you have the lower TRs, and then you got the upper indoc TRs. And so lower TRs, you have OT TR0, operating theater, confronting. Two students sit facing each other with their eyes closed. The routine ends when both students can sit for an extended period without movement or drowsiness. And this extended period, that depends on what level you're doing, because you have different courses, communication courses, and I believe in all of the communication courses you have these lower TRs that you have to do. So very introductory courses, maybe 20 minutes, half an hour, or something like that. I'm not sure if it is exactly defined. I believe in the TR's objective it is actually defined that you have to sit there for good 2 hours, I think, without making a mistake. So in other words, without a flunk. And then the supervisor would give you the pass and would say it's okay. And I think you have to do that with every single one. It was about 2 hours, something along those lines. Okay, let me see if I can maybe zoom in a little bit. Bear with me. Okay, there we go. It's much better because then I can read it also properly. All right. Let's see. Oh yes, I've got here the bar, like in the olden days. Okay, good. So that was that. And what doesn't say actually, you sit on 2 chairs with straight backs, and the distance between the 2 people is about 3 feet, so 1 meter, and so it's you're sitting fairly close to each other. And then we got TR0 confronting. In the first exercise, the student and coach face each other with their eyes open. The routine ends when the students can confront the coach for at least 2 hours without movement, excessive blinking, or loss of attention. The second exercise is the same, except that the coach tries to distract the student both verbally and physically. This part would be the bullbait, which comes a little bit later. So you do the same thing as OT TR0, but you have your eyes open. You cannot blink too much. You're allowed to have a regular amount of blinking, that's fine, but you're not allowed to blink too much. You're not allowed to look away, and you have to look at the person in the face, ideally in the eyes. What I always did, I always looked right here in between. I never fixated on one of the eyes. I always looked right here in between the eyes, and I think that is where you also get the Scientology stare, because there's some Scientologists who just take this to another level and just stare at you, like almost unblinkingly. I mean, it's quite disturbing, some Scientologists. Not all of them. Some of them have this so intense. Now, I don't know if this is because they have done a million hours of this kind of these drills, or because they're just completely overdoing it. But I wouldn't want to encounter a Scientologist, like one of those kind of Scientologists, in a dark alley with flickering light. I mean, that would be scary. Like a Scientology staring at you in that situation. Oh my God, getting goosebumps. Okay, so that's TR0 confronting. just sitting there with your eyes open, and and then it says about this verbal and physical. This is this bull baiting. The coach says things to the student to try to provoke a reaction. The coach may say or do anything except leave the chair. The student must be able to sit and watch the coach without getting distracted or reacting in any way. If he does, the coach flunks him and the TR starts over. The coach will attempt to find the student's buttons, things that cause a reaction. The stated purpose of this TRs is to train the student to be there in a communication status without getting distracted. So this basically teaches you to accept abuse of any level. As it says, you're allowed to do absolutely everything except leave the chair. So you're also allowed to snap at people, scream at them, swear at them, tell very, very rude jokes, make fun of them, body shame, and all of the possibilities that you can just imagine. And the coach will also flunk you, even if you don't maybe have a physical reaction, but he can sort of tell you're distracted, you're not paying attention, you're sort of drifting off, your eyes are glazing over, then there will be a flunk as well. And that is pretty much open to interpretation because, it's not anything physical you can actually see. But it's quite tough, and you do this for hours and hours and hours. And something it doesn't say here is, for example, let's say we sit opposite each other, and I am the PC. The PC stands for pre-clear, and that is basically anyone who's being audited, right? Who's doing auditing, or is part of a drill, like a drill like this. I would be the PC, and then the other one would be the coach. So the coach will be doing the drills on me and coaching me, making sure I do it correctly. So if I were at the PC and the coach says, your jumper looks like it smells of farts, and I would chuckle at that, and he would say, flunk. Are you ready? Start. And then he will say this thing again. He will say again, your jumper looks like it smells of fart. And he keeps doing that until I do not react on that anymore. And then he goes on and does something else. He might then pick this up again. Maybe 50 minutes later, he will say the same thing just to make sure this button I have is flat, meaning I don't react to it anymore, right? And this is something I was particularly good at as a child. I was very inventive and just ridiculous and silly. And so I was often taken when I was a child to do bull baiting with other adults and so on and so forth. So that's actually kind of fun for little children to do. All right. But again, what it does, it teaches you to accept any sort of abuse. And I think this is one of the reasons why I have difficulty expressing certain things, and where I just sort of sit there and just don't show any emotion. And I might feel angry, I might feel very sad and upset inside, but I can't actually tell my face to show it. And this is one of those things, I think, at least it's influenced by that. I don't know if it's solely because of that. It could also just be part of my character, that I just am that way. But it definitely is influenced by that, I'm sure. All right, TR1, Dear Alice. The student reads several lines from Alice in Wonderland to the coach as if saying them himself. The coach either acknowledges the line or flunks the student according to whether the line is communicated clearly. So here the point of it is, you have Alice in Wonderland, and the Hubbard says the reason for that is because it has many short lines. So it doesn't have long sentences or anything like that. So it's much easier. So you take your Alice in Wonderland, and you as a PC would say then to the coach, you say, for example, Alice. So you would read. Alice drank a cup of tea, and then you have to say it. Alice drank a cup of tea, and you have to say it in a way that it isn't wooden, that it just comes from you, and the coach makes sure that it's all correct. And as I said, not wooden. It is all comes out as though it is you just made this up, And the idea behind that is later on, when you then become an auditor, that you are able to give the commands or ask the questions not in a wooden and robotic way, but in a warm and in a way that the PC then receives it well, right? Dear Alice. All right, Tier 2, Acknowledgements. The coach reads the student lines from Alice in Wonderland. in a reversal of tier 1. The student must acknowledge each line so as to clearly end the cycle of communication. Okay, so this time I'm the PC, and then now the coach, he will take Alice in Wonderland, the book, and he will read a line, and I need to be able to acknowledge it in a way that finishes the conversation, so I don't keep it going. So the coach will say, Alice drank a cup of tea, and then I could say, for example, great, or good for her, or excellent. A flunk would be if I were to say, oh, really? What kind of tea did she have? That would be a flunk, because it doesn't finish the conversation. It keeps going with the conversation, right? And this again is to learn how to acknowledge something that the PC says, so that the PC feels acknowledged, feels like, okay, he heard what I said, without wanting to get into that too much, because obviously certain things you want to get into, but then you don't ask, but then you say very specific things that are already written down, what you are supposed to ask to question further. So you're not allowed to just frivolously, go on with other conversations like that. All right, acknowledgements. Tier 3, duplicative question. The student repeatedly asks the question, do birds fly, or do fish swim? If the coach answers the question, the student acknowledges the answer. If the coach says anything else, the student advises the coach that he will repeat the question and then does so. So this is one of those wonderful drills where you keep on saying exactly the same thing. So I will be the PC again. The other person is the coach, and I will say, do birds fly? And if the coach says yes, no, I don't know, anything that answers the question, I will say thank you, and then I'll just repeat the question, and then again, do birds fly? If he were to say, I don't know, let's say I asked, do birds fly? And then he says, the whole week it's been raining, but today it's really nice weather. Because this does not answer my question whatsoever, I will ignore what he says, and I'll say, I'll repeat the auditing question, do birds fly? And then I'll keep going until the person answers the question. This again is to always get an answer to the question. Always get the PC to answer your question. You always have to get an answer, whatever the answer is, right? Okay. Tier 4, originations. The student repeatedly asks the coach a question as in Tier 3. So again, do birds fly or do fish swim? If the coach originates a statement unrelated to the question, the student handles the origin as needed and then continues the routine. So here it picks up the same as we did in Tier 3, where we asked the question, do birds fly, do fish swim? And if he says something random like that, like before, like it's been raining, today it's very nice weather, you repeat the question. Now, however, if it is something relevant in some way, if the coach originates a statement, if the coach originates a statement unrelated to the question, the student handles the origination as needed and then continues the routine. So handle as needed. So let's say the PC says, oh, it's a bit cold in here, isn't it? Then I would say, oh, all right, let me put up the heating a little bit for you. Is that better? Yes, thank you. All right, let me repeat that auditing question. Do birds fly? And things like that. And this obviously is to make sure that the PC feels well in the environment, in this particular example, but also to learn to distinguish whether a statement that is unrelated to the question of do birds fly or whatever the question is, that the PC is able, well, I'm the PC, but the later on when I'm then the auditor, then I'm able to distinguish whether that is something it's relevant, it's something we need to look at, it's something maybe we need to handle before we can actually move on with the exercise, or if it's just a distraction, if it's just something to maybe to push my buttons or whatever, and then be able to handle it in that sort of way. Now something I don't see here. Interesting. Something I don't see here, although maybe I'm misremembering, but I thought there was another TR drill where you take again the Alice in Wonderland book, and you basically encourage people to tell more than they actually want to say. So then the coach would say, for example, Alice drank, he would then sort of trailer off, and then you're supposed to say something to encourage. Tell me more. What did she drink? And you do this to entice more information out of the PC, even though the PC sort of doesn't really want to tell you, but you can tell that there is something more, so you entice it out of them. I'm pretty sure there was a drill like that, but it's not here. Again, this is from Wikipedia, so or maybe I'm misremembering, but I thought there was a drill like that as well. Oh, darlings, and please do hit the like button if you liked this thing that I just did. If you find my way of talking about this sort of stuff, my own little stories and explaining the Scientologies, please leave a subscribe. And yes, have an excellent day. Do enjoy, and goodbye.